I'm so motivated. I have decided to give everybody a lecture or lesson in games. And I have my book full of notes here that I took. You can see it's like 2 pages full of notes. Will this include spoilers? Yes, this will include spoilers for Expedition 33 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't have autism, daph. This is not autistic. Maybe a little bit. But it's like, listen, I just picked Scary Teacher 3D because I wanted to pick a random category, whatever. I'm not going just chatting, man. Thanks, Gio. Is this gonna be a YouTube video? I didn't make it with the intention of being a YouTube video, and I think making it into a YouTube video would actually piss a lot of people off, and I'll go into detail why. But I think I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna start it in like a few minutes or whatever. This is autistic, it's petty. No, I don't think it is. The motivation for it is, I think, the final straw of why I want to go into discussing this in detail, because I also have a future frame of reference to refer people to when I'm talking about this topic. But then what actually ignited it was the massive literacy gap between gamers. The topic that we will go into today will be gaming, writing in gaming, what makes games good, literacy problems in the gaming community, and just it's very gaming focused, like gaming as a media focused. We're gonna, yeah. You guys are the one playing Scary Teacher 3D. And I think now is a perfect time to go into this. Do I think people are gonna be literate enough to understand me? To the people that need this video, no, but to the people that do understand what I'm saying, they can understand it further. But to the people that already don't understand, this is not for them. This is for the people that do have an open mind and aren't babies. So the end goal of this is to explain my thought process on what I think makes a really good game and what I look for in games. And if you watch my streams and you watch my takes on gaming, especially in the past like year, I feel like because my frontal lobe has developed so much more in the past year than like the past before all that, I analyze games in a much deeper level than I did when I was like starting my stream, or like even like 2-3 years ago, whatever. Which is why I replay games now, because I'm literally consuming it in a different way. Like, it's so different to me now. And that's why it's interesting. Like, I'm so interested in it. Yeah, is the test open book? Yeah. It's so fun to be able to see critically what is wrong in a story or what is good. That why I play Oblivion Remastered? Yeah, I wanted to remember if the quest writing was as decent as I remember, and it is. And you really do see the difference in the quality of the quest between Oblivion and Skyrim, and it's not just like people regurgitating talking points that other people have said. So to break it down by using 2 of the major examples that I can use, because I just finished 2 very good games, like Clair Obscur and Kingdom Comes a little earlier. It's fun revisiting as a fully sentient human. Yeah, and I think what really pushed this over the edge for me to like want to make a whole ass presentation about it is because 1, I really care about what I'm talking about, and 2, I think that it's good to put my thought in full out there so that if this topic ever comes up again, I can refer to just this as a whole for people who do want to understand. Because if you watch my streams, I was literally saying this earlier and then I got interrupted by another thought. It's like, if you watch my streams and you watch how I analyze games and writing in the past year, you probably have opinions that are more aligned with me and how I want to break down games and how I approach the writing or storytelling and writing in games or whatever. So I think this would actually be helpful for these people. But then for who this is not going to be helpful, for people who are kind of dumb. Don't worry, if the shoe doesn't fit, you don't need to be offended. Okay, there's no reason to be offended if it doesn't fit. Just saying that ahead of time. Just saying that ahead of time, okay? You don't, if it doesn't apply, you don't need to be offended. Thanks, Kenny K and Geo Overlord. Might inspire people to look more critically into this stuff. I think I would rather inspire the right people to look more critically into how they play games than to try to help people who do not understand, because I remember that example that I say a lot is like when I talk about certain very specific points in games, like especially in story, we're discussing it over here. But then the people that are down here that don't even understand what we're talking about up here, I find it so tiring to have to constantly repeat certain points, to dumb it down, to bring the people down here to up here. So I'd rather have a discussion with the people up here and talk about what this massive gap is and why it's there. Thanks, Knaves and Snoopy and Kenny K. Oh yeah, I can turn down the music, sorry. But if you have an open mind and you're like, ogre read book, but ogre no understand deeper levels or whatever, that's fine. As long as you have an open mind, it's chill. But also, this isn't to say that you have to play games at a deeper level and that you should consume everything critically, because there's fun slop out there, and it's like not really a big deal to want to play slop or like not want to engage with every piece of media that you come across in your life, movies, shows, whatever, in that seriously anal way. But to build that skill and to have a common interest in that, such as in this case is video games, when you can figure out what works in a game and what doesn't work, you can pick out what you actually like even more and understand why certain games do better and why certain games don't. So another point that I've made a lot is when you ask someone, hey, what did you not like about Starfield? And they just say, well, it was boring. And then you ask, well, what about it was boring? The quests. What about the quests was boring? I don't know, I just didn't like them. So what did you not like about the quests? Yeah, I just didn't really like it, it was boring. And then because the articulation is not there for that, it's hard for people to have a discussion and ultimately contribute to the gaming culture of why there is a theory of the enshittification of games. So for example, instead of saying, I don't know why it's boring, if this person understood what elements worked well and what didn't, then they would be able to understand, well, I didn't like Starfield because I didn't think the world building was that interesting. The quests that you were due felt like they had no consequence. I didn't find the characters interesting. The dialogue that they were saying were not interesting to me either. And all the quests ultimately ended up contributing nothing to the big picture. Stuff like that. So a lot of people like can't give an answer like that, so they talk in circles. They probably don't care about articulating that, but this isn't about people that don't care about articulating that. It's also kind of, it's more so about people that do want to articulate it, but they literally can't. They like are unable to, and they don't know why. And because of Claire Obscure coming out, which is massively successful, I would say, for such a small studio to come out of nowhere, it actually brought this issue into light so much more, and I have very, very specific examples for it, which I will use to prove my point. And why are we focusing on such people? Or am I thinking they can be helped? I don't really care. I'm just talking about it because I find it passionate too, so I'm having a discussion with my chat about it. I don't really care that much about elevating the people that are down here to up here. I only care about talking to the people up here who are aligned with that share my interest and passion in games and are down to dissect it. Yeah, this is I'm the Scary Teacher 3D. Elevate. Rustic. So yeah, I prepared a lesson. Gamers can't verbalize their a lot of gamers can't, and even the fact when you say that, a lot of them end up being very sensitive and just turn to tribalism. And when that happens, you pretty much won't be able to have that kind of productive discussion with breaking down a game. And obviously, you don't owe anybody that, and nobody owes you that. But I think for people, like I said, my Twitter accent's coming out. For people that share the same views as me, that find this shit interesting, this is the discussion for us. A lot of people just will go, I didn't like the X part, why do I have to go in depth if I didn't like it? Yeah, and I think that kind of has to do with like critical thinking and just reasoning. It's like you felt Elden Ring was way too long because your friends blame you about how you played the game. That's another thing, is like when someone says that they didn't like a game, it's very important to not take it personally. And when people tend to take that really personally and like get spiteful and fight back without listing a legitimate reason why they disagree, it's telling of a... It's just kind of stupid, I guess. Yeah, and they took that personally, basically. And they took that personally. They really did. Because I like games, but then when people talk shit about it, I don't fucking take that shit personally. I would ask them like, hey, what did you not like about it? Because I thought it was pretty good. Then they tell me their reason. I'm like, all right, that's fair. Like, okay, I can see that. I get it. Talking about it personally makes you look like a... taking it personally makes you look like a total loser. Yeah, kind of, yeah. And I think it just ends up being a lot of people don't... They just end up having like a very caveman grug look about it. They're so attached to things they enjoy. Exactly. They get really attached and they get personally offended. And they really don't need to be. So it's very silly. I'm gonna go pee. Example of a fair disagreement of a game someone had but I liked. Yeah, I could give a very specific example. Someone said they didn't like Last of Us 2 because it was woke. I asked, can you explain what you mean by that? Like, what did you mean you didn't like it because it was woke? They're like, well, because they added trans people in it. And then I said, but that, they had a pretty good reason for integrating why that person was trans in the story. And then someone else said, oh, I just didn't like the pacing of Abby's revenge arc. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. That is fair. But the first point is stupid because they gave a reason why. They integrated him being trans into the story because they did not believe that they wanted to be a breeder or whatever. Yeah, so when someone says that they don't like something and they give a valid reason for it, it's very agreeable. Like, it's like, just, okay, you can agree to disagree, that's kind of it. Didn't like that they want to use to like Addie? Yeah. Abby. They should have made all the Abby parts first, that's what I said. But yeah, I don't know, I dropped the show because I thought it was boring. I need to pee though, I drank a lot of tea. Right back. Holy cock. You ever played it because you were satisfied with first game conclusion? Yeah, I think the second game's just the revenge arc thing, which is... It's alright. I don't think it's horrible. But I don't think it was like... crazy transformative or whatever. The dog death scenes? Wait, when you like QTE? Yeah. Things Chulund. There was so much demand for it, they had to make it. It's been a while. Yeah. Yeah, I've got time. Ooh. A lot of people were uncomfortable with dog stabbing QTEs. Fuck off. Whatever, man. They could have made a completely different story, the different characters. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I also think that they should do that with Witcher 3 instead of continuing Ciri. But I don't, it's like, it's not a big deal. See, that's the thing. It's like, me voicing something like that, it's very easy for someone else to respond in a very violent manner because they're like, oh, so you fucking hate Ciri? Literally, that's so you hate waffles. And they're just not open to any kind of, and they don't want to have any kind of discussion about it. So you hate Ciri, yeah. Yeah, I thought having a new Witcher would be cool. I don't know. I guess technically Ciri's a new Witcher, but like a new one that nobody has seen before. So you hate video games? Yes. Would it be another Witcher? Yes, I would want the protagonist to be a Witcher, not a random normal guy named Joe from accounting. Oh. My eyes are kind of blurry. Joe from accounting has potential. Joe Bastianich. You watched The Accountant 2 today? It was so bad. Oh geez. Using Ciri as the next Witcher lets them have more gameplay variants, like adding more magic. That's true. But then if they added another Witcher school and gave them different kinds of magic, that also works. But that's just not the reality we live in. We live in Ciri. So. So my pants is Eon. You don't like the drab filter on Oblivion Remastered and someone say, oh, so you hate it, yeah. Oh jeez. Okay, shall we start the lesson? Well, I don't know what, dude, oh my god, if I start the fucking lecture, there's gonna be so many people coming here in the next 5 minutes going like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I think I just ignore them and move on. So then we just go on it. Is this lesson gonna be recorded? Yeah, because I need to use it as a frame of reference for future discussions for this topic. If people want to look at it, they can. I'll put it all out here so that they could just refer to this. Boom! This is what I'm starting with. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, amazing game. Just came out. It's already got that rancid Twitter community of if you criticize it any way, shape, or form, you're gonna have a horde of people that you're gonna have a horde of locusts descending upon you. Which is justified or not, we will talk about that. And the other game that I really liked, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it didn't make it into Game of the Year selection last year, so it's gonna be counted to this. I'm going to be comparing my 2 Game of the Year choices for this year. Even though we're only in May, it's not even halfway through the year, but I don't give a fuck. I think these 2 games are going to be the top dog for me. And I'm going to explain both sides. I'm going to bounce on the fence crazy style. And then at the end, I will reach a conclusion for my opinion on which out of these 2 deserves Game of the Year more. Let me see my notes. Right, so we will be going through what I think makes a good game in terms of gameplay, in terms of writing. Yeah, there will be spoilers, sorry, there will be spoilers. There will be spoilers for both games, so if you don't want to get spoiled, get the fuck out of here right now. We'll be talking about the formula for what makes a good game. You already know which I prefer. Do you though? I think it's like 50-50. We will be going through the formulas, like if something is a good gameplay but bad story, what does that make the overall score? If it's a bad story, good gameplay, how does that affect whatever? You like Kingdom Come more? I'm not answering that. We will come to the end when I do a breakdown into all this. What else? Okay. So before I get into this, and before I get into the criticisms of both games and what does well in both games, I have to talk about a phenomenon that I have taken the liberty of naming Omori gamers. So If you don't know my gripe and you don't know the lore about Omori and the reputation of Omori in this stream, is I believe Omori is a god-awful game. It's like terrible Tumblr teenage angst that drags on for a really, really long time and has an unsatisfying reveal and an unsatisfying conclusion, which is with like overall just terrible writing. Terrible pacing, everything terrible. So what I call Omori gamers is when you criticize their game. So in this case, it would be Omori. They get really fucking ass mad because they have, I believe, something called, I have coined this term. I believe these kind of sensitive Omori gamers have something called, they lack something called opinion permanence. And let me write that down so you don't. So I actually have a non-Omori example of this, is when I played Lies of P, and I said, okay, so this is a really good game, the combat is great, they actually improved on, they found a FromSoft formula that they took from, that they derived from, and it works. But there are parts of the game that is clunky, the story's not very interesting, the characters are a little bit like Tumblr-y written. But then, what I mean by they lack opinion permanence is, if you say 3 good things, 10 minutes later you say 2 bad things, you never said the 3 good things. They don't perceive it. They only perceive the bad things you said. So that's what I call lacking opinion permanence. So I believe the ratio for when you come across an Omori gamer is you have to have a ratio of 10-to-1 positive to negative things to say. So if you want to say 1 negative thing, you have to first say 10 positive things, and then very gently bridge it into the negative criticism so they don't freak out on you. This is what I call an Omori gamer when you criticize their game, and in this case it's Omori. Sometimes it may be like Lies of P, sometimes it might be like mouthwashing. Okay? So this being said, this context is very important for what I'm about to talk about in Obscure Claro. Claro Obscure, Expedition 33. It's very important. This is very important, okay? Keep this in mind. Claro Obscure. The lacking of opinion permanence. Is there any other notes I have about this? Not really. I mean, I think they just generally tend to be very sensitive and have a kind of like tribalism take. Is if you say, oh, I didn't really like Lies of P, I actually liked Berserker Kazan more. The Omori gamers will then say, oh, well, Kazan fucking sucks shit. Lies of P is way better in every way, instead of actually listening to the valid criticisms that you do have, and then like assuming that you're also open-minded about if they had a valid criticism of Kazan. Because they just kind of lash out at the negative thing you say and disregard all the positive things you said. Because you cannot criticize it at all. I think they get extra upset because they can't articulate what they like or don't like. In a way, but I don't think that's applicable to this term specifically. This term specifically is more so speaking about the experience that I have noticed as a streamer playing games, is how I will play a game and I will not go out of my way to constantly compliment it every 5 minutes. But if something happens in the game, I'm like, yeah, their model ahead characters look really big. Or like, I think this parrying window should have been a little better. They will reframe everything that I said into, wow, she fucking hates this game. Like, why do you hate it why do you keep playing if you hate it so much? Why are you so pessimistic? Like, what's the point of playing it? You don't even like the game. Even if in the same stream, across 8 hours, 5 different times I've said, yeah, the gameplay is really good. Like, I think it rewards high skill, high gameplay. Like, I really love the devs. The devs really knew what they were doing. They actually play games, so they were able to implement intricacies in the game that other game devs wouldn't necessarily know because they don't play so many games. But then, because of this lacking opinion permanence, they do not process anything. They only process the negativity. That's what lacking opinion permanence is. That means once that positivity is out the window, it doesn't fucking exist. The only things that are staying in there are the negative stuff, okay? Understand? Now moving on. There's almost every fandom post-COVID. Yeah, lacking opinion permanence. Gameplay, I'm gonna be honest, when I had this idea, I was gonna talk more about the writing and why I thought Claire Obscure's writing is decent and Kingdom Come is very good. And so we're gonna go into the gameplay a little bit, but I'm not gonna be super detailed about it. I think if you watch me play Clairo, you already know that I described a lot of it in detail. So for Clairo, we're gonna start with Claire Obscure. Did I even write this shit down? I mean, Claire Obscure, E33. Very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. High skill, high reward parry. Fun builds. Variety. Fun builds. It feels very smooth, nice animations. The sound design and like, I don't know what the term is called, but it's like the feedback you get when you hit a parry and all that is very intuitive. I guess I'll just say intuitive gameplay, intuitive haptic feedback, like responsiveness, Hispanic feedback, good intuitive gameplay. I'm just gonna say like good intuitive gameplay. So like, you don't need to have a PhD in, for example, what I would say is not good intuitive gameplay, though it's not technically gameplay, is like Monster Hunter UI navigating. That is not intuitive. Claire Obscure gameplay, intuitive. Parry, okay, they're about to swing, parry it, maybe they delay it, then you just also delay your parry, easy clap, easy side, like easy everything, cash money. Very good. And I remember praising the devs a lot for adding that kind of high skill level, high reward gameplay that actually a lot of games don't do, because I honestly don't know why. Maybe because it's harder, but if you're able to perfect parry in the game, you basically get so much more ability points to cast more abilities, which ends up making like your attacks way more effective. And a lot of games, when you block something or you parry something, it's not that rewarding. You parry something, you do like maybe 10 more damage, which isn't that much in the long run. But if you perfect parry your way through the game, you'll find that it is it's just like a rhythm game. You're just going. The momentum of it carries really well. And the animation's smooth, so it feels good. It feels amazing. And to be able to have that level of finesse in a combat system, especially, it's a turn-based game too. In a turn-based game, to have that level of engagement with the player who doesn't have to draw on their keyboard while waiting for the enemy to attack, it means that the devs play games. And we know, because we looked up the CEO and his background, he loves games. That means that the devs actually partake in gaming, which you would be surprised that a lot of devs don't actually play a lot of games. But that guy specifically, I think his name is Guillaume, he plays a lot of different games, and the team that worked on Claire Obscure also definitely know what they're doing, because to be able to have this level of finesse, to add the high skill, high reward parrying, is a very, very specific thing that a lot of games generally don't consider. And I remember mentioning, I think I remember pointing that out in some other games. It's like, okay, I perfect parry multiple times, I perfect dodge multiple times, but I don't feel like it's satisfying to even do that, so what's the point? You want to reward your player in the gameplay by, like, if you're really good, you should be able to do more damage and just be a lot better at whatever it is that you're doing, like killing enemies, killing blah blah blah, whatever, right? Every person who worked on this game, no matter their position, listed their top 5 games. Yeah, and the way, like, you can tell in their work that they knew what they were doing. They're fucking goated with the sauce. It was really good. And I've glazed that nonstop. Like, I'm pretty sure when I was playing Claire Obscure, I said that so many times. I was like, this parrying shit is fucking awesome. Like, it's so good, because traditionally turn-based games, and a lot of people are like, I'm not really into turn-based games because it's kind of slow. I like fast-paced action, first-person shooter, whatever. Because turn-based is like, you go turn, they do a turn, you do a turn. And then when they do a turn, you just kind of drool. But then in this case, you're actually fucking locked the fuck in so that you can benefit with your turn after their turn with the perfect parrying or whatnot. And you can even have like builds around it. I'm not going to go into detail about the variety of builds in it, but you can pretty much make any character a support character or a defense or any character a support character or attack character. And if you want to go full glass cannon, that's what I did, because I was like, I don't fucking need healers, I'm just gonna go full parry. Easy crap. Yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you want, which is really good. And I think my only, like, I think literally my only complaint about the gameplay, which isn't even a fault of the devs, it's just me, was like, there were some parts where a boss would be attacking you and the camera was like fucking zooming in and out nonstop. And I was like, dude, I can't fucking see the timing on the swing because the camera is bouncing on a crazy style. Which, it wasn't, like, it's not even a big deal. That, I wouldn't even dock any points for that. That's flair, and I get it. I get it. It's just mildly annoying at worst, and it's something that I have to get used to. Ideally, though, that they had an option to turn that off, which they did, but then it also turned off your attacks doing the same, and I was like, they shouldn't have an option that only turns off the camera zooming in and out when you're getting attacked so you can see the attacks a little better. Sometimes your teammate block the view of the attack, yeah. And because there is an option to turn off the zooming, but it actually turns off the zooming of the entire fight, so the whole time you're actually just standing still, it doesn't even zoom in or have any flare when you attack. So I think actually what would solve it easily is if it just didn't do the zooming when the enemy is attacking, so that you could see what the fuck they were doing. The visual clarity of the attacks themselves are fine. It was the camera movement that was making it tricky for me at some points, but it was really not a big issue. Like, it was just like, okay, I'll just get used to it. I think that was like the only bad thing I had to say about the gameplay. Gameplay, honestly, a 10 out of 10. I would say this is as perfect as a turn-based game can be for someone that likes fast-paced action games. Even for people who don't like turn-based, I think it's worth a try. Because if you don't want to play a game just because it's turn-based, you're like purposely just... It's like never eating beef and never wanting to try it. You're missing out on such a big variety of cuisine. Same with Baldur's Gate. That shit's turn-based. I also used to be a non-turn-based gamer. I remember I said that like 3 years ago. I was not into that shit. And then I played Baldur's Gate, and I was like, wait. Oh yeah, I played Persona 3 Reloaded, and I was like, wait. Actually, it's kind of fun. Because you also can kind of just sit back and relax. Wait a minute. Kind of obvious. They hate vegetarians? Yeah, like in MasterChef. Wait, this shit kind of good. It's literally this. This is how I felt. But that being said, there are bad turn-based games. Just because something is turn-based doesn't automatically make it good, and I think what makes particularly Clair Obscure's turn-based and Baldur's Gate 3 turn-based more appealing to people that may not like turn-based game is because there's so much interactions that you can do in Baldur's Gate and like so many combinations, so many different builds. They really consider a lot of things that you could do, like you could throw your ally at the enemy, you can throw grease on the floor and they'll slip, and then in Clair Obscure is that you have to actually lock in when it's the enemy turn, and it actually benefits you massively and stuff like that, so you lock in. Yeah, it's just like variety. Let me leave this here. Anything else about the gameplay I'd like to add? Let me think. Oops. Exploration? Oh yeah, I mean, I did have one complaint about the, I guess, like map exploration was it wasn't clear whether or not you could go or like you should go in a certain area, and I had to kind of do a Roomba gameplay where yeah, that was another point. So let's say you had a map that was like this. And let's say this is where the objective is, and this is where you spawn. So what I ended up having to do was, because there was also, I don't think there was a mini map either, so I would go here, okay, and then go here. See that there's two diverging paths here. Go back over here. See that there's only one path. Be like, okay, I'm gonna go back here and go check over here, and then go in here, and then go in here. But then if you had a mini map, or like had some form of a way to kind of like plan it out a little more, then you would just do this instead of going like, which is it just is a quality of life kind of thing. But it's also not a big deal that makes the game bad. It would make it a lot more convenient, and that was something that I did complain about, but definitely not to the point that these Omori gamers were saying, because there were some like angry motherfuckers that were like, daph is so pessimistic, she fucking hates this game, like why did she even play this game? And I was like, dude, this fucking Roomba gameplay. Okay, and then completely disregarding that I said all this, by the way. Is that bad level design, or is just a consequence of not wanting to miss anything? Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. But there's literally no downside to adding some sort of system, whether it's a minimap or something that they had in, they had this system in Dead Space and BioShock Infinite, where you press the button and it just told you which way was the objective path, so then you would actually go the other way to make sure you didn't miss anything. There's no downside to adding that. If you don't want to press it because you think it's less immersive, then just don't fucking click it. Or like, if you want to add a mini-map, but you think a mini-map is breaking immersion, then you can just turn it off. It's a bit more immersive, gets you lost in levels. Yeah, that's my thing, is like, I think I understand the immersive part, but let's be honest, okay? At the end of the day, this is a video game, and people do value their time, and they do like convenience, especially someone like me. I know exactly what I have to do, and I know exactly where I want to explore. I don't want to feel like, you know, those influencers in an aquarium going like this. Okay, I know I want to do the side quest, the side route over there. I know I want to then go there right after. Okay, we don't need to do the cinematic dev showcase of the lands. So best way to make both people happy: turn it off or don't turn it off. Turn it off, or yeah, leave it on, or just don't use it, but have it there. But that being said, that's still a very minor complaint. Like this is not having this is not game breaking in any way. It's just mildly annoying. Really not a big deal. Thanks, lol. That's a cat, yeah. Is there anything else I'm missing about the gameplay? Nitpicks not actual downside. Yeah, there was also someone that was like, how can anybody watch this when she's nitpicking everything? And I'm like, I didn't nitpick everything. I just nitpicked the same thing a few times where it was relevant because I was going through the motions of what I found inconvenient. And yet again, you know, Omori gamers, completely yet again ignoring all of this every time. Lacking opinion permanence. LOP. They have the LOP, the LOP. What about runbacks and cutscenes? Oh, art direction? I don't feel like art direction is that big of a topic that I should have the whole thing dedicated to it, but I did think that the art direction of Clair Obscur was beautifully done and really well done. I think you mentioned I didn't like the slowdown of some attacks. Yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the camera zooming in. It messed up with my... No, it was actually the camera zooming in. The camera zooming in, I forgot to mention, when the camera zoomed in, it would also do a slow-mo, and it did mess up my prediction of the timing of the attack, but again, that's not really a big deal. It was just me being, like, it was nitpicking, but I don't see a problem with nitpicking, because I don't only nitpick. The people that say that I only nitpick are bitches. They're baby back bitches. That's the end of it. that actually brings me to a point that I did forget to mention is, what people expect out of my gameplay and me streaming games is I will talk over certain cutscenes. I will skip certain dialogue because it is ultimately my judgment and me as a person streaming my personality to decide what I think, like what I will do in that situation of watching a cutscene or whatever. Generally, I don't talk over cutscenes, and generally I will occasionally skip dialogue because I already finished reading all of it and I understood the point they were making. And some people got like really upset at that because they felt like I wasn't taking the game seriously, and there's only I don't really have anything to say to people that think that way because I am a person with my own personality. If you wanted to watch someone who was seriously playing the game, being positive, never saying anything negative at all, or like had to baby bridge all their criticisms because you are overly sensitive, then don't watch my streams. Like, it's that easy. If you wanted to watch someone who was fully immersed, you wanted to watch someone who didn't interrupt during cutscenes or like didn't talk over that, go watch a no commentary gameplay. Because when I was a kid and I couldn't afford a lot of games, I watched this guy named MK Ice and Fire who did all the no commentary stuff. I watched the entire playthrough of The Last of Us on his channel. That guy was fucking goated. No commentary, watch that. Just watch that. Don't click on a stream that you can tell their personality 10 minutes in, blind pussy taste test this, dusty pussy that, and then complain that you didn't like it, because I don't turn on the fucking TV, throw on PBS, and complain that it's for kids. I just click on a different stream. How are people this fucking dense? I don't understand. I have no plans of changing how I behave when I play a game because I am still consuming it in a way that I think matters. Big but, I think that the way I play games now is different from how I play games 2 years ago plus, because my frontal lobe has expanded and I found my passion in video games and storytelling to be expanded exponentially. Like, I love breaking it down. I love knowing the intricacies of the writing. I like thinking about why the devs added this, why the devs added that, why certain mechanics are in here, or why did they write the dialogue like this and the characters like that, because I just think it's cool. I think it's interesting. And dementia gaming, yeah. But I mean, I do think I play games a little differently now, because when I was a kid and I played a lot of story games, I literally like didn't really pay attention and I didn't really understand a lot of the things they were saying because I was just honestly too stupid. So actually, with the replaying of Witcher 2 right now, I already noticed a difference from when I first played it on stream, and it's me paying attention to the land dispute of like Aedirn and Cadwyn and Redania and Temeria. And when I last played on stream, could I tell you where Cadwyn was on a map? No. Could I tell you why people were so aware, like hyper aware of Philippa being in Aedirn? No. But then now that I'm actually able, because my brain maybe expanded a little, got a couple of wrinkles in there more, I can like, enjoy these story games so much more because I got the extra wrinkles for the brain cells, I guess. I don't know. Even watching my Kingdom 1 playthrough from 3 years ago, you could tell the difference. Yeah, and that's why I actually am having so much more fun replaying these games, because I genuinely was like playing it at a lower understanding. So that's why I want to replay Cyberpunk and the Cyberpunk DLC, Nier Automata, Wolf Among Us, and some other ones that I can't remember right now. Yeah, the brain's got a couple more ridges. I want to replay it and keep an open mind and see how I feel about it. Maybe because I'm healthier now than before. It is possible, yeah. But they do say your frontal lobe like fully develops develops more when you're 25 or something. I don't know. Yeah, Nier Automata, Wolf Among Us, Cyberpunk DLC. Nier story is quite shit no matter how you open it from. Dude, you're gonna have to like, fight the horde of locusts that are gonna descend on you, okay? I did not say that, that person did. Maybe Plague Tale's not as bad. I mean, I think it is. Because I think if I thought a story was bad when I was pretty stupid relatively, it's gotta be even worse now. Unfortunately, it doesn't go both ways. If something I thought was mid might actually be really good, it's more likely than that than if I thought something was bad, it's actually not that bad. I don't know, Plague Tale, I think my criticism of Plague Tale was like, it was just so stupid and all the plot advancement was her getting hit over the head with a stick, and I'm like, they reused that to advance the plot 3 times. What do you think you can possibly infer from the writing level? Things Ozzy Tadashi. I don't know. Some games I thought it was so bad I don't want to replay it. No thank you. Not. Plague Tale, definitely not. Is it possible you believe something's good, now you find it bad? Yeah, but I don't think it would be like now it's bad. It would probably be like something I thought was good, but it's just actually okay. Or like if something was okay, but I thought, or something was okay, but it's actually better than I expected because there was like some subtext I didn't fully understand. We have FF7 Remake a try? I don't know, isn't it really long? I don't know if I would like it. Oh yeah, Mass Effect? We could put that on the list. FF7 has porn writing? Yeah, I do want to sniff Death Stranding also. And yeah, I mean, I've also played so many games, and I think that just overall, as you get older, the more media you consume, the more you kind of like have higher standards because you've tasted the nectar of good writing. Then you're like, okay, well, this is how good it can actually get. My standards are gonna be a little bit higher. It's better to try to fix for every single game you play. Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm only gonna replay games that I think are worth a chance, worth another shot. So not Plague Tale. Fuck that. Anyways, back to this. Anything else about the gameplay? I don't think so. I think overall, very good. Like, fucking 10 out of 10 gameplay for a turn-based game. What is this? And then gameplay of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It's alright. Like, I think one thing off the top of my head that I can recall is there is no point in parrying the enemies because they also perfect parry you nonstop. So you're actually just stuck in a stalemate of clink, clank, no damage done unless you do the fainting attacks, or sometimes even master strikes don't even work. So you're just kind of jacking off in front of each other the whole time. I mean, I do think the perks and the potion making is fun, but it's nothing revolutionary. It's all right. But at least it's not bad. But it's not bad. You parry it all the time. They really did it back. Oh, maybe it's not parrying that they're doing it back to you, but like they just block your attack, so there's no point in you parrying and counter attack because they just block your counter. So then I remember I just didn't bother with it at all and just went for the donk, fainting donk. Yeah, the potion making, flower picking, everything, I think it's just like standard RPG stuff. Yeah, the combo is not even worth remembering. Gameplay was just very okay, but not bad. It's not terrible. It is okay. Nothing I would overtly praise for, to be honest. Well, I guess the combat could be even worse if they had Skyrim level combat, but they added the directional input thing like Bannerlord that made it more interesting. So that improves it a little bit, but still, like, it's just, you just kind of jack off, really. Gameplay beyond the combat. Oh yeah, the lock picking and the pickpocketing mini games I think were really innovative and great. The NPCs and the way they interacted with the environment around them was very immersive because, like, for example, if you stole everything and they would be like, okay, motherfucker, you even took my shoes, what the fuck? Like, they would comment on stuff like that. They did, just, like, really good immersive world. But I think that should be the standard for all RPGs, so I don't think it's super revolutionary. It didn't like stand out that much to me, to be honest. All the NPCs have their own schedules in the world. Yeah, I mean, that's also a thing that I think is actually a base standard. It's nothing I would overtly glaze for. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I do have very insanely high standards. Yeah, I don't think anything in the gameplay is revolutionary. It's just decent. It's okay. Living Heaven is not innovative. Yeah, it was not bad. So it would like if Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 had bad gameplay, then a lot of people would have fucking dropped that shit off the start. But because I would say it has like okay gameplay and really good writing is what charms people to keep playing. And it is a very tall order to make a open world RPG because there's so many things that you have to implement, and if you don't implement it, it feels like shit. You do implement it, it's not super revolutionary, and it's kind of insane to expect them to reinvent the wheel for open world gameplay, open world RPG, because it is an insane amount of work. So I think they diverted most of their efforts into the writing, which is what I will go into more of a deep dive. All the Red Dead 2 Redemption had schedules. Yeah, I think that's a given. It is an improvement from Kingdom Come 1, that's true. How about the dice game? Yeah, good. I mean, nothing much to say about it. Trying to think, is there anything else about the gameplay that I didn't mention? I feel like as far as the gameplay goes for Kingdom Come, it's just okay. Very standard, yeah. I agree. If you're late to class, please close the door quietly. Yeah. Please do not be disruptive. If you're late to class, just find your seat, sit down, okay? And just copy the notes from the person next to you if they're willing to. So yeah, so that's kind of the comparison between the gameplay of Clair Obscur and Kingdom Come Deliverance. Quiz time! What is a massive character flaw that Omori gamers and sensitive tribalistic gamers have? LOP! Exactly! 10 points to Gryffindor. Very good, very good. Lack of opinion permanence. Very good, good job. Okay, let me check my notes. I actually, if you missed it, I showed my notes that I took for the stream. Okay. Now we're going to the meat of the bones. I actually didn't even plan to talk about the gameplay, but I figured might as well because I'm gonna compare which one is my pick for game of the year between these two. Break it down and choose which one. Okay, so we have if you sat in class late, there will be spoilers for both games, for Clair Obscur and Kingdom Come. So close your eyes or close your ears. Story. Writing in Expedition 33. It pissed off, I would say, probably a couple dozen people because I said that the writing was okay. It was decent. I didn't think it was amazing, and I thought that Kingdom Come Deliverance writing was better, and I will explain Kingdom Come Deliverance's writing after. I will explain Expedition 33 first. But I actually will be opening this discussion to the table. You guys are free to contribute or to tell me if I missed anything. So, just a brief summary. So basically they are playing Sims. The world is a simulation. It's all about Mayel dealing with grief, the family dealing with grief. and her naivety and how she navigates dealing with grief at such a young age. And I really like the endings. I thought the endings were a good conclusion to how Mayel wanted to deal with the death of her brother, and I thought the bad ending was cool. I mean, it's like fucked up, but it's cool. It's well done. I think the implications of it it's like sick in both definitions. But I think the problem with the ending, or the problem with Act 3, was once they had the reveal, it actually got like less interesting, because they set up the world to be so mysterious, and you wanted to know how it worked. You wanted to know what are the exterior forces. You wanted to know if there were gods. You want to know why like this exists, that exists, and then it's like, oh, they're all just painted. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, the reveal killed the momentum for you. Yeah, let me see what else I had in my notes in here. But that being said, the story was told very beautifully, like the art direction, the cinematics, and I would say the pacing of the first 2 acts were really well done, even though it does do something that I didn't really like, because when it's not done well, it's actually really frustrating, and this is something that Omori and that other game that I played for a sponsor did. Basically what they do is they dangle a lot of foreshadowing that you don't understand until the reveal. So you have to like go back and recall or rewatch it to even understand, because all of it is nonsense, because you don't know what the actual thing they're talking about is. So they talk in riddles, they insinuate a lot of stuff, but of course you don't have the full picture, so you're kind of like guesstimating what's going on. You're trying to put it together. But the thing is, if it's done well and it's done in an interesting manner or even a beautiful manner, it actually engages you to pay attention more to it, so because you want to try to figure out what's going on. So I think Omori does that horribly. That being said, and I think actually E33 did that fairly interesting in Act 1 and 2. But it is, I think it's, I still don't really like that kind of storytelling, especially when it's done a lot. Like they were kind of doing that nonstop with the family mystery and whatnot, which is, I understand, but that's my opinion. All Night did good, yeah. I mean, there was also someone who was like, actually, you can figure it all out through the implications of the mysteries that they're dangling in front of you. And I'm like, okay, can you be realistic? Most people won't understand. Most people will not be able to put it together. So let's drop the hypothetical of like, actually, if you're smart enough, you could have figured it all out. Like, no, that's not what they implied. I mean, it's not what the devs intended. They wanted you to be completely lost. They wanted you to piece together the story on your own. They wanted you to suspect things and whatnot and try to theorize, because dangling mystery is a way to keep you engaged with it and try it, because you want to find out what the actual reveal was. And then when the thing did get revealed in Act 3, unfortunately for me, the momentum died a lot, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's just all that then. Yeah, I do think it is actually very interesting when you've already played the game and then you watch the cutscenes, and I think I even made a point to comment on that when I was playing through Act 1 and 2, the black and white scenes where they were able to pause time in the canvas, and I was like, none of this makes sense to me, but I bet people who already finished the game, to you, this is a lot more interesting on a second watch, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, because you actually know what they're referring to. But then if you're going to it blind for the first time, it's all nonsense, with maybe some pieces that you could put together. Yeah, the aspect ratio was really cool, I agree. Then rationalize that you're like Ack. Yeah, so that was my main gripe with Act 3, is I did not feel that the reveal was satisfying. It's not how they revealed it, it's just, unfortunately, the bones of the story I did not feel like was that contemplative. So, that's why I thought Kingdom Come had better writing, which I'll talk about that in detail later. But, you know, some people got upset that I said that. I was like, well, I think I give the writing like a 7 or 8 out of 10, and they're like, what? You know, because LOP. You only play the context clues of the war. Yeah, I mean, like, I think you can put it together, and like the mystery and the reveal would be, it gives you a whole, like, you're like, oh wow, wait, now all this makes sense or whatever. But I think overall, them banking a lot of the story of the canvas world being fake, being the big reveal, was a little bit disappointing. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I would still say it's a 7 or 8 out of 10 story. The characters really made it for you. You loved everyone. I'm like okay about the characters. Let me see what else I had there. I actually think that the dilemma and the moral, just the morality of ending the canvas versus keeping the canvas is interesting. I actually think that focus would be more interesting than the grief. But then I do know that the grief kind of actually goes hand in hand, because it's like, if Mayel wants to move on with the grief, she destroys the canvas. If Mayel doesn't want to move on the grief, she lives in the canvas. But everybody lives inside that universe. And by that I mean, it's like the morality of, is it justified to erase a world, even if you know that they are in a painting? Or like, is it justified to let them live? But I don't think they super duper touched on that. It's just kind of the implication is there. It's just cool lore. At the cost of her own life if she stays? Yeah, thank you for adding that, yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I do think it's just interesting to think about is just, do you want to kill the whole world even though they are paintings and they've expressed having their own free will? Yeah, the good ending sort of frames the bad ending. No, both endings are not great. Because in the good ending, she moves on. Wait, did they destroy the painting in the moving on ending? It's implied? Okay, yeah. Also, I think making the world less mysterious made the emotions feel grief more important than the story. Yeah, no, I do think the overall theme of the story was actually the grief. The morality of the canvas thing was like a side piece that was just through implications and something for you to think about. And that was like kind of a secondary thought, is like, okay, if Mayel wants to move on and actually deal with her grief in a healthy way, she has to delete that entire universe. Which is also what the creator, Verso, wanted for himself. That would also damn everybody in that. And then the other ending, the unhealthy way of coping with her grief, is she lives in the canvas, she keeps him alive, she keeps his soul there like a prisoner, and she eventually gets her life force drains and will die because she is keeping the canvas and ultimately keeping everybody in the canvas alive. So then you're like, well, is that for the greater good? I guess it depends how you see Mayel's justifications. But then, to be honest, I don't think Mayel saved the canvas because she necessarily wanted to save everybody inside of it. She wanted to save it because she wanted to save her brother, and she happened to have friends in it that she wanted to save. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the main point was keeping Verso alive. So, that being said, so the overall story, the overall theme is more about how she deals with grief, and then I think the morality thing is like a side thing. But personally, I think the morality part was more interesting than the grief thing. Everyone still dies if she does stay in the canvas, when she does eventually cause the next fracture. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, who getting arrested? Me. Mayel got gaming addiction. Yeah. Honey, it's time to step outside of the Sims server. I mean, is there anything else I'm missing about what the message you think the devs wanted to tell you? Monoko is a dog, yeah. The relationship mechanic was so stupid and unnecessary and felt so slapped on last minute. Oh, I was gonna talk. Oh, yeah. Okay. So my opinion on the relationship building was it was very milquetoast and very just okay. I wish that you could have spent more time with each of the characters, and it's very unfortunate with like the pacing of the game, not the writing, like the game. When I finished Act 2, started Act 3, I tried to do the side quest, but I was like really underleveled. So I finished the main game first, main boss, and then went back into the side quest, off stream by the way, and it actually unlocks the final bonding cutscene with them or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's actually really sweet. And I wish that they actually included it not as a side quest, and that you spend more time with the characters just as part of the main story. Offline, you say, yeah. But I did think it was cute, but my main concern was it was just not enough. They needed to hang out more, they needed to interact more, they needed to show us them more. Lune was just kind of there. Monoko's, I think, was well done. Monoko and Verso's bromance was really good. CL's was a little more interesting. I think Lune's lore relationship was a little boring. Not great. But it sure felt like a beautiful character. Yeah, I think the biggest criticism of the relationship character development in the game was it's just not enough and they need to do more. But it's not really something that I would super duper fault them for, because I will say they are a pretty small dev team relatively, and with looking at the big picture of what they did put out with the game, it's fine. I think it's okay that they didn't have like Baldur's Gate 3 level of relationship bonding, like they didn't have a whole ass Astarian questline development. Like, I think it's okay. I think it is excusable. Felt like an afterthought. It could have been, maybe, yeah. Think relationship E2 sucks because the characters lack personality. No, I think Monoko is really interesting. CL has a like kind of unexpected sad story, but she like presents herself as more lively. Lune is just kind of there because her parents want her to be a researcher, so she's like, okay, I'm gonna be a researcher and I'm always gonna be really straight to the point. And I think Lune could have been, if they, and again, the problems of this all come from there's just simply not enough content for them, and probably not enough budget or time for the dev team to elaborate on it, because if they could, I am sure they would have. So that's why Lune, like, she needed more time to actually show you that she's not super duper pragmatic, that she has a softer side or whatever. Or like CL's relationship, or like CL trying to fuck Verso was really weird to me. I thought that was like, I was uncomfortable with it because I was like, okay, there's no way, that was not developed well enough. I did not want to open her pussy, that was weird. Monoko and Verso's bromance, I thought was good. That I liked the Monoko bromance. And I think Monoko being the dog and why he collects feet makes a lot of sense, because he probably likes collecting socks. Yeah, I was like, well, she just wants to fuck. I mean, I get that she wants to fuck because she was trying to like move on from her husband's death and be like, yo, let's go for some like sex, you know? But it was just weird. It was still weird. I don't know. I don't know. It was, yeah, I was uncomfortable with it too. I think that could have been solved if they did have more time and budget into building that up a little bit. I do compliments to the dialogue between the characters though is I do think the devs have a pretty good sense of humor, and you can definitely see it when you interact with Golgra. When you do Monoko side quest and he goes to the Rebirth Valley, and then Golgra suddenly shows up and go like, Monoko. Like, she goes like, what are you doing? And that was pretty funny. They do have some funny moments in the game, so I give them props for that. Golgra was funny. Yeah, trying to skip the line again. Yeah, well, and that's why I didn't think the writing was crazy. I thought it was decent, and as far as video game writing goes, it's good. Remember, do not apply this. Do not apply lacking opinion permanence, please. Do not be an Omori gamer. I am begging. But yeah. Is there anything else you think I missed about the overall, like, do you think there's a massive message that the dev wanted to speak on that I didn't mention? Like when he called, yeah, I think Verso was well written. I liked Verso. Feet. Well, the overall setting of the game, good. I mean, I think that goes into art direction. Did I talk about pacing? Yeah, I talked about Act 3's problem. Does Gustav need to die? Need? Well, I think Gustav dying actually is good because Mayel needs to experience that grief, and then you draw the parallel of her losing Gustav, who she saw as a brother figure, and then her meeting Verso, and then how she wants to come to terms with the death of her brother, because she has to come to terms with the death of her brother a second time because of the painted Verso in the canvas. And if he was alive, it's just, I mean, I just think it's more impactful for her development for him to die, because it's about Mayel dealing with her brother's death. Yeah, Verso did let Gustav die, but he said it was because he thought it would, if he didn't let him die, it would like change her motivation or something. I do remember he did mention it. Yeah, to motivate her. And that actually, I think that like does work. No, okay, me making him a suicide bomber did not have anything to do with it. You still don't understand if the main message is grief and moving on. How do you move on from the fact of creating, deleting, sending beings on a whim? That's actually what I talked about earlier too, is I think the main message is the grief, but then the grief tackles, like, the grief theme has the secondary addition of the morality of erasing the world. It's like, okay, if she wants to come to terms with her grief, she's actually erasing the world. If she doesn't want to come to terms with grief, but she's keeping everybody alive. So which one do you think is more justified, is what they want you to think about, in my opinion. Why didn't you prioritize resurrecting Gustav? Like, when she realized she was a painter? No chroma? Characters being mad about, chat is being mad about Gustav dying. I don't think anybody here was mad he died. Or she, yeah, so she didn't have enough chroma to res him. Oh, he wasn't, oh, you can't be resed unless you get gamoshed. Okay, gotcha. I mean, I think it's better that she doesn't res him, because that kind of aligns more with, okay, she's gonna come to terms with death, because the whole reason they're fighting is because the mom can't come to terms with the death. And the dad is like, okay, honey, let's get you off your PC. It just lacks chroma because she riz him at the end of the game. Oh, okay. What the fuck? Chat's wrong? Yeah, he did get rezzed at the end. So it is just the lack of chroma. Like, if you just die, you can still get rezzed. Okay, so yeah, okay. Yeah, I was right originally, but I listened to someone in chat and then I was wrong. Classic. Fuck you. Yeah, so that means the Gustav in the like piano ending was repainted by her. Yeah, that makes sense. I understand. Okay. Clea's 5-minute screen time. Oh yeah, so Clea is a massive bitch, which is fucking hilarious. I wonder if they just kind of, if they're gonna add like a DLC. They said they don't know yet because they're busy celebrating. They said it's likely. I think if they do DLC, it would be more interesting to do the male bad ending continuation because it's kind of fucked up. But they might just like do a whole other painting universe that they jump into together. I don't know, why is the paintress doing the number thing? Because that's how long she could keep up her power stopping the gamage. Because the dad was the one gamaging everybody, and every year she is unable to stop as much. So she can keep less and less people alive. That's how chat explained it to me. Because he was trying to delete her save file, and she was trying to protect her save file. And she's like, okay, this is the time limit of how much I can protect my save file. Or like, this is the age limit of how much I can protect my save file. And she was, yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're all on the same page here. The Nevrons make the chroma not return. Because he was making Nevrons? I feel like I'm gonna get confused by something. Clea was. Oh yeah, I do like that Clea's a bitch because it's hilarious. And it adds a nice juxtaposition to Mayel's god complex and savior and wanting to save everybody. And Clea's like, girl, fuck off. And Clea's just like that evil bitchy older sister. It's so much more interesting in stories when you have a character who when you don't have like a cast of everybody who is I am good. I am lawfully good, and my biggest character flaw is that I wish I could save everybody. Like, come on, you gotta have a foil. Clea painted over her canvas in order to keep making Nevrons. Okay, got it. And what do you think the Clea's Nevrons have to do with the theme of the story in the game? Just to fuck shit up? Nothing, really? Nothing, lol. It was just explain why enemies are there. Oh, okay. She wanted the parents to stop fighting. Tired of parents' BS. Okay. So, I don't think it's too out of left field for me to say that the Nevron's existence and Clea's creating those Nevrons have a big impact on the story and the overall message of the game. They kept Chroma from returning the alien. Okay, so this is like story talking points, but not necessarily like a theme talking point, because I would rather talk about theme talking points. Yeah. Yeah, alright. Do you know how the fire happened? It's implied that there's something called, so they're painters and then there's writers in the real world, and the writers caused a fire in their house for unknown purposes. They probably have beef. Do we have no info on the writers? It might be tucked away in some lore thing, but I think we have come to a conclusion on the discussion of Expedition 33's writing. The story is decent, but what I think is lacking is the overall, like, the overall messaging of it is not as strong. And it's not that it has to be strong, but if writing is able to make you contemplate about it because it has more depth, that usually means that the writing was better, generally speaking, because you want to like think about what you just played. Yeah, it's not, I agree, it's not a super deep story, but I do think that it is done very beautifully. And you know what? Baldur's Gate 3's story isn't super deep either, but they just wrote it so well that it's just like such a fun journey. And I think for Act 1 and 2, it is a really fun journey. And Act 3, unfortunately, the reveal does drop the ball a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's still, I would still give the writing a 7 or 8 out of 10. Stages of Grief, yeah. The execution is fun, I agree. They did a really good job of cinematics. Fantastic. Yeah, I think if they do plan to make a second game or DLC, it'll probably elaborate on the writer stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna go pee, I'll be back. You're failing the exam? Just don't forget LOP. Fantastic world that challenged reality. Yeah, it's nice. Overall, yeah, I think the main takeaway is like just how people deal with grief. It's okay. Grief is just, it's all right. Now for the big pie that a lot of people do not, I think, it like went over their head. Now this is something that I did talk about multiple times, maybe 3 times, but I literally can't talk about it that much because it's so long. And it's a fucking marathon to talk about, to like break this down. But I will preface this by saying, when I mentioned that the writing in Clear Obscure that we just went over in detail, when I said that I thought it wasn't as good as Kingdom Come Deliverance, I will explain why here. And when I did say that, you know, I had some people in chat that were like, what? Like, how could you say that? It's so good. It, like, Kingdom Come's writing is shit. Like, how do you say? And then I asked them, can you tell me what is the importance of Von Alewitz's lecture to Henry? Explain to me why that was significant in the story. And they could not answer why. And them not being able to answer why tells me that the finesse that the writers had in Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance is really good. And in fact, it's at a level that is so good that a lot of people end up actually missing it. And if you can recognize it, then fucking fantastic. And it's not even anything, I don't even think it's anything revolutionary. It's just really well done, and overall the standards for video game writing has never been super crazy. It's just been like, yeah, it's like you get some good gems, some nice diamonds here and there. But Kingdom Come, I was very impressed because of how they went about it. And if you haven't played Kingdom Come, Deliverance 2, I will have to explain some backstory of the lore to you so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah, E33 spoilers is over. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the main character is named Henry. Here's our boy Henry. His whole family fucking died in the village fire, and because they were killed by an enemy army commanded by a lord, these two. And the beginning of Kingdom Come 2, or rather the overarching conflict of Kingdom Come 2 is the people of the land are divided between serving King Wenceslas. How do you pronounce that? Wenceslas? 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 Wenceslas. Wenceslas. I'm gonna say Wenceslas. 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 King Wenceslas. Okay. So, overarching conflict of the settings that you go through in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the conflict between King Wenceslas and King Sigismund. The lords of the land and nobles are divided between support for King Wenceslas or King Sigismund. King Wenceslas is the default reigning king of the land. King Sigismund is trying to take over his land because King Wenceslas is a terrible drunk, bad leader. He just goes whoring all the time and is just truthfully not a good king. But a lot of lords want to maintain their loyalty and the status quo of serving under him, so they fight under him. King Sigismund is the aggressor. He thinks that King Wenceslas is a shitty king, so he wants to take over the land. Okay, got it? Gotcha. So, Henry with Hans Capone, he also asked Sigismund to help him rule too. Okay, so originally Henry and Hans Capone, the game starts off with they have to deliver a letter to Lord Van Berghoff, but he wasn't there. So Henry is actually serving under Wenceslas because Henry's allegiance to Capone and his father, they're all on Wenceslas' side. Okay, just so we're clear on this. And I'll go into him later. So, okay, you guys understand, like, the plot, right? So I have put aside. So, this is Team 1. This is Team Wenceslas. Let me write this down. Is Team Wenceslas? Wenceslas. Team W, and this is Team S. Wenceslas. Dude, King Wen. Okay. So, I played this game when it came out a couple months ago, and unfortunately, that means that I will be forgetting some details. But I do remember some very, very specific points in the story that I was impressed by because the writers were able to foreshadow in a very subtle way that kind of like congratulates you for being right, for picking up on the subtext. So one of the first quests early on is Henry and his boyfriend Hans Capone. They almost get hung in Castle Trovsky which is where this guy rules, but he was not home. So that means that this guy was actually in charge. This guy decides to hang Henry and Lord Capone because I forgot why, but like he was on some shit basically. So when he finally comes back to be like, yo, why the fuck are you hanging them? He's like, oh shit, I don't fucking know. I just thought, and then he says, okay, never make a decision on my behalf because I am the Lord. You were only temporarily in charge of the castle. You're a chamberlain. Right, okay. Then we move on. We meaning Henry and Capone, we talk with this guy and he's like, hey, we have to go to this village, find out something is going on or whatever. I'm just gonna like talk generally about it because I don't really remember. So you go to a village with Ashek as Henry. And you find out that this village that von Berghoff rules over, it's like a little village that is under his domain, I believe. You and Henry go here and you confront that village. And you find out that the son of the lord of that place called... One second. This guy's name. This guy's son was a traitor to him. So you as Henry, you go with this guy who is the right-hand man of this guy to confront him at his land to say, hey, your son is a traitor. You have to face justice for this. And then right at that, when that happens, this guy says, we need to torch his entire fucking village, his entire fucking everything, and kill everybody in it. But then, if you recall what happened literally like a few quests before, Van Berghoff actually yells at Ulrich for making decisions on his behalf. And if you actually listen to him and believe that you should torch the village without any kind of trial for this guy, it is the wrong decision, because the devs use foreshadowing literally before by going like, you cannot make decisions on behalf of the Lord. So if you go and make the decision on behalf of the Lord and execute everybody because this guy said so, which isn't the decision of this guy, you end up fucking them over that you didn't have to, because this guy is actually chill. And another telling point is when you do report back to him, he gets really fucking mad at him for doing that. So in a way, you can say that was the wrong choice. So I wanted to bring out this specific quest line in specifically because I thought that the devs wrote this quest with the previous quest definitely to kind of hint you toward, to like guide you towards what you should do. Yeah, you would spend actual IRL hours before that foreshadow kicks in. Exactly. So I wanted to praise them for that. It's like, yes, you can say like, oh, but it's just foreshadowing, like whatever. Lots of games do that. But I thought it's actually a really good demonstration of what they're able to do in a game that they didn't have to do that, is that if you do pay attention to what people are saying and the subtext of it, and you follow those morals that they presented to you, you are in the right for it. Yeah, a subtle thing for you to figure out what you should do in such a, like a drastic choice. Do you want to kill everybody there or do you not want to? So I was like, okay, that's good job. That is just like small thing. And then the big meat of the bone is throughout the entire game, and the game is like 60 hours, 70 hours or something. Multiple characters, because there's like conspiracies, everybody's working with each other. Multiple characters have mentioned that this person, Jobst, is untrustworthy because he is a turncoat. Turncoat meaning someone that helps one side and then he'll flip over, help the other side, help over, like flip over and help. So he has no loyalty. And you're just kind of like, okay, cool, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's still helping. We still have a common ally, right? He's still helping our guy, but he's just kind of not super loyal. Okay. Now, a little bit further in the game, about like, I would say the midpoint, this guy tells Henry, when you finally encounter him, you as Henry have been hunting down this guy for pretty much the entire first game and the half of the second game, because he had to do with torching your village, killing your family. Like, well, technically he didn't do it, but he was like part of the crew, and he stole your father's sword. So you've been going after him because your sword like symbolizes a lot of things. It's your family, your dad, your childhood, everything. You finally come across him, and what he says to Henry is you can totally just be like, okay, well, what he says is just like a villain's monologuing, it's whatever. And what he says is, Henry, you don't see the big picture. This is war, people die. The stronger bitches fucks the dogs. Henry, you don't get it. You're just a little puppy. You don't fucking get anything. And, you know, that's like, you can say, yes, that's very typical villain monologuing, right? Henry is just running around, doing side quests, fucking bath bitches, whatever. Henry pushes him out the window, he dies, goodbye, whatever. Cool. And then, as the war goes on, Henry is doing things basically on Team W. You know, they have meetings. Remember, this is like across 60 hours. There's so many things that I can't even recall. It was the floor who killed him? Yeah. And then Henry starts tracking down this guy after killing Ishvan Toth. This guy was actually directly responsible for the killing of his village and Skolets, and for his parents' deaths, because it was his men, his troops he commanded, and it was him raiding Henry's. Yeah, lots of bald representation. And Henry finally finds him, and in his dying words, Von Alitz says, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he basically tells Henry that he served something that he believed in, and that he follows King Sigismund because he agrees with his morals, he agrees with his ideals. He also, he did remember everybody he's killed, and he tells Henry that he is sorry for what he did, and they are fighting a war, and that is what happens in war, but he remembers everybody he kills. He was honestly a really noble guy, and his motivations were consistent. Like, he was a very consistently stuck to what he believed in guy under King Sigismund. Henry, however, lashes out and says, you don't, like, you killed my family, you did this, blah, blah, blah. And Von Alitz, when he says that he serves King Sigismund, it makes you question, do you think Henry truly served King Wenceslas because he believed in him, or do you think because he just got routed into it? And it really is the latter. This character, who is the main antagonist of the game, is the point in where you realize that Henry was actually a much less noble and less justified character the whole game. When the whole game is you playing through Henry's eyes and going through Henry's justification. So you're obviously tend to be biased towards Henry, but Henry was actually less noble, you would say, and less justified in what he was doing when he was killing people under King Wenceslas and killing people's fathers, because he was like, you killed my dad, you're a horrible person, whatever. So Henry at no point in the game reflects on the people he killed. I don't think he did. Henry at no point like reflects on it. He really just is exactly like what Toth said, that he did not understand the bigger picture, that he was just a pawn in war, and that he didn't even know what the fuck he was getting into and didn't know what he was doing. And it made sense. And turns out that the villains in this story were more correct than Henry ever was. So with that kind of foreshadowing that they tell you over the 60-hour game, and why they said this guy was a jobber and a shitty person, was all good writing, because at the very conclusion, you realize that the writers wanted you to question, is it more justified and noble to fight for something you believe in, or is it more justified and noble to just kind of fight for whatever just cause? And in that case, then you're like, okay, well, this guy is actually kind of a better person than Henry, even though he's the one that killed his whole family. I think his like last cutscene dialogue with Henry is basically says it all. But it also is hinted at throughout the game, but never stated outright. What's the justification? The justification for him killing Henry's family was that it was war, and von Alitz has always served under King Sigismund, and that was his purpose. Henry, throughout the game, serves King Wenceslas, a king that he doesn't necessarily have any loyalty or believe in, only because he was with Hans Capone, and all the lords on King Wenceslas' side was being basically leaded by Jobst to fight for Wenceslas. And Jobst, being a turncoat and an unloyal person, leading the coalition of people under King Wenceslas is such a weak, like, it's not very noble. It's a weak, like, their morality is weak. Even Jobst has depth, yes. And the point of why this is so well done is because Henry's revenge that you play through his eyes, and him being so biased, like you would be biased for Henry's side, is you realizing that the bad guys were actually more, I guess you could say, like, morally correct and more justifiable than Henry ever was. And it's never overtly stated outright with these characters, because when Ishvan Toth says it, I think he knew that Henry was also too stupid to even understand what he was saying. So I remember Ishvan Toth saying stuff like, "You don't get it, Henry. Like, you are just a little puppy. You don't fucking understand that war is war, and I'm just gonna serve whoever I want, or like whatever is beneficial to me, because even then, serving whoever that you know is more advantageous to you is still more noble than Henry serving King Wenceslas just cause." Because you have seen throughout several points in the story where people say Wenceslas is not a good king. And that being the overall conflict thing, I think that is a, like the two kings versus each other, that is a reasonable assumption to be, to make. What's that right here? Yeah, I think that. What about the thing the Jews were being killed in the city and Henry saying that? Wasn't that an order by King Sigismund to kill the Jewish community? I feel like that's hard to justify. Justify what? That like this king is more correct? But then, but here's the thing that you can say that anything that they did in war, they have did in war also. It's not exactly he's allified, the fact that he's all for revenge. Yeah, which is actually even a worse case. Because he doesn't even necessarily side with King Wenceslas, but he is fighting on the side of King Wenceslas because for revenge, and also because the people that he's fighting under are also on King Wenceslas' side. So the revenge is just like a cool double whammy. And that's why von Alitz was a good villain, because he showcases that Henry was actually just a jobber and not a true, I guess they would say, like a true noble man, sticking to his guns, sticking to his morals, because Henry's morals are all over the place when you play through. Like, I guess you could do whatever the fuck you want, but as the main story guides you through, like, you can't not serve King Wenceslas, basically. You realize that Henry's position in the war is truly exactly as he described. One design shows a disconnect between some gamers where people who went off of the real life history than looking at the story the devs are trying to tell. Yeah, I agree. As someone who didn't know the history, like, that's what I took out of the story. People that are like, well, gotcha this, gotcha that, what about this war crime and this? Like, that's not the point. Because if you want to focus on war crimes that this person has done and this person had done to say that they were less justified, you can say, well, what about the war crimes they have done? Then I would say let's just cancel out the war crimes on both sides and talk about the narrative point that was being given, that the devs wrote to us. And it is, I think, I believe very strongly that it is you coming to the conclusion that actually von Alitz and Ishvan Toth were both more right than Henry. Yeah, so Ishvan Toth serving King Sigismund, actually, I would say would be even more noble than Henry serving King Wenceslas. Because Isfan is like, dude, I don't give a fuck about either of those kings, but I know what's best for me, so I'm gonna stick by that. Henry is like, I'm just kind of here. I'm gonna fight for Wenceslas, even though I don't know anything about him. Revenge. And that's why he makes fun of him for that. So, really well done villains, I think. And the irony of the person to unite all the lords under Wenceslas is a turncoat, someone who has no loyalty to what he's actually fighting for. As family ties and revenge, right, and think about what he was actually doing in the war, yeah. But Henry's kind of justified because the other side kills family in front of him. Of course he's not going to join them. See, this is what I mean. You didn't understand what I said. You didn't understand what I said at all. Is that it wouldn't have the more right. See, you also didn't understand what I said. If you're arguing about the perceived rightness and righteousness and nobility, that's not the point. That is entirely subjective. What I'm talking about is that Von Alitz and Ishvan Toth were men of conviction. Maybe Ishvan, he was convicted himself, but Von Alitz was a man of conviction, and he had true loyalty to what he was serving. Henry only had one thing in mind, and that was revenge. He did things in the war that were beneficial to Wenceslas. He served under Wenceslas. Even if he didn't necessarily care about Wenceslas, he still did, which makes him less noble, because he was also a hypocrite. Von Alitz is not a hypocrite. Which is, like, that's the point I was making. If you want to argue, actually, no, this person was still evil because he did war crimes, Henry did war crimes too. That's not the point. The point is that Von Alitz was just a very stick by my morals, very consistent, not a hypocrite. Henry, no morals, only revenge, shallow goals, and did not see the bigger picture, just a little peasant. So, the thing that we're talking about is not who was more right. I worded it like that. Yes, I did word it like that because I thought it would be easier to digest that way. I was like, okay, technically he's more right. But, like, is he more right? That's subjective. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, what makes them their man. But Henry, as you play through the game, like, you're kind of... I mean, when I played through it, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of a knight. Like, I'm noble. I'm helping people left and right. And then when he actually crashed out at Von Alitz, I disagreed with him. I was like, no. Talking how to calculate was beneficial to him? Yeah. So that's why these people were, like, men that were true to themselves. Henry, I would say, was not as true to himself as the way these Giga Chad men were. And I'm not saying that their war crimes were justified, but it's just that their principles were very... Henry, not so much. Which is why they made such good villains, because they were actually such a nuanced foil to Henry.
LT_universe gifted a tier 1 sub to Sudden Rain.
Thanks LT and Sari.
Gift subs in the channel.
Yeah, I use the word like they were more right or more justified, but it's not really about that. I just said that because it would be easier to digest. Yeah, they challenge the protagonist's beliefs. Exactly. They had strong convictions, yes. And then I think that can also make you think. You can have good ending playthrough as Henry though. Yeah, but ending wise, it's really more about Henry's journey, let's be for real. But yes, I know what you mean. But then, that being said, I think the main takeaway from all of this is like, what do you make out of these people's characters? Like, would you like someone like Henry more or someone like Von Alitz or Ishvan Toth? Would you like someone who is true to their beliefs, who serves what they believe in, and is not a hypocrite? Or would you like someone who has slightly more selfish reasonings, but totally justified, and kind of like have shaky ethics or like shaky beliefs. So that's what I guess like you could think about that. Von Alice is amazing here. Yeah, it is really well done, I think. And that's why I glaze Kingdom Come's writing. Is the fact that I had to give you like 5 essays of backstory to get into why Henry's contrast to the antagonist. I had to explain it to you with all that backstory and how they were able to put foreshadowing in multiple points of the game to build up to that conclusion that Henry is not exactly a convicted man. A man of conviction. Even though he was convicted to revenge, that conviction is ultimately shallow. You think people who are less rigid in their convictions make a better person as they can develop to a point? Yeah, and you know what? That's actually totally valid, because the flaw of being super convicted in his beliefs is that he's doing war crimes. He's killing villages. He's killing people left and right. He's murdering families. But Henry, he's not convicted to serving the king. He's a little more malleable, and you would say, well, actually, no, I think Henry is also a good guy. And that's why it's so well done. And I totally understand what you're saying. So at the end of the day, like I think that's what the devs want you to question is, what do you prefer, a man of conviction or a man of no conviction, but is a hypocrite, a little more malleable, a little bit all over the place, you know? All things equal, does that mean a complex nuanced story is always better than one that isn't? What? No way. Anything you guys want to add? But then, I mean, that's also another thing, is that it's not that Henry isn't necessarily a bad guy. Henry's not also necessarily a good guy either. Von Alice is also not necessarily a bad guy, or not necessarily a good guy either, but it really comes down to, again, do you want to believe more with the guy who is super duper loyal, lives by a set code of ethics, or the guy who doesn't? Yeah, gay sex. I didn't even talk about the gay sex. It's a classic trope of 2 sides can be right. It is a classic trope of 2 sides that can be right, but I think they did it with so much nuance and such a well-guided way throughout the story that it is really, really worth praising. When Alice isn't, you need to work out. No, he's not. And Henry does kill a lot of people, yes. I mean, you can choose to play him not killing people. But you understand the point that I was making, right? Is like, the ethics of these characters. Doing the wrong thing for Razor versus doing right things for wrong reasons? I guess in a little bit, yeah, you can, it's kind of like that. But how they tied it all together, I thought was really well done. So that's why I've praised it a lot. I praised Kingdom Come writing a lot. And I thought they just did a really good job, and that I haven't even touched on how some of the quests were really funny and just well written, because they really fucking did cook. They cooked. Like not the quests. Like I said, the gameplay, what I said about the Kingdom Come gameplay is this, okay? Gameplay comparison of Clair Obscur and gameplay of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, okay? All this, and then Kingdom Come is just, it's okay. Because there's not a lot of you can do with this kind of open world RPG stuff. A lot of quests are like, okay, go here, kill this person, go here, deliver this. But what they made it fun was the interactions with the people and the dialogue with the people. So one that I love referencing is the mission where you write a letter. Is ultimately like you're just doing it for some money. It was a random side quest, but then when you're writing the letter, it breaks it down. It's like, okay, this first section, do you want to write it rudely or politely? And then when you write it politely, it sounds like straight out of Office Corpo HR. It's hilarious. And you read, and Henry reads it out loud as you write it, because he's writing for peasants that don't know how to read or write. And then the next line, you can write super rude or super polite again. And then what I did was polite, rude, polite, rude. So when he was reading the letter, he was like, hello, to whom it may correspond. I'm writing to inquire about the payment. Fuck you, you sack of shit. And it was stuff like that. That was just charming. It was really well done. And a lot of the more in-depth side quests, because I'm not saying they didn't have fetch quests, they definitely did. It made me want to read more. It made me want to see what they were doing, like what silly things they were up to. Yeah, you also never see this guy, by the way. But you see this guy and his introduction, oh my god, his fucking aura is crazy. His aura when he shows up is insane. Yeah. No spaghetti. Yeah, Sigismund was really fucking cool. I think that was... Let me check my notes. I think that's mostly why I thought it was really well done. This I just strictly Kingdom Come. This, the Two Kings is Kingdom Come 2. The absence of his character is that, yeah, I agree. He was a bad king. I think that's most of it. Obviously, there's like certain quests that I don't remember because it's been a few months since I played. And that's why I thought the writing in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was better than the writing in Kingdom Come Deliverance than the writing in Clair Obscure. Because of so many little things, so much foreshadowing, so much subtext that you infer to really, that you can really dissect Henry as a character and then compare it to the major antagonist. So which one got my vote for Game of the Year? So, that being said, I think my Game of the Year pick, if it's down to these, unless some, like, the second coming of Jesus comes out in the next 6 months, which I highly doubt would happen, this is gonna be my 2 Game of the Year picks. My Game of the Year winner will be... It's not you, Henry. It's Expedition 33. Because Expedition 33 overall is a much more digestible game for the general audience, and that the gameplay is so... just so good for me that I am willing to look past and beyond the decent writing. Because the writing isn't even bad, it's still really good. Get baited. Yeah, but I do think the Kingdom Come writing Deliverances are really good, and I do hope that more game dev writers in the future have more flair and more nuance and more subtext and that kind of stuff to really put together a story that can really come together at the end. So yeah, Expedition 33 is gonna be my pick. It's just really well made. I already explained everything I really liked about it. And I also think that if it actually were down to these 2 games in general voting, most people would vote for this, because I think the writing in Kingdom Come, everything that I just described, actually gets lost on a lot of people. Not because, it may not necessarily be because they're stupid, but just because they didn't pay attention, because it's a really long RPG. It's like 60 minutes. And it's just how it is. And even if it wasn't lost, I don't think that the exceptional writing in this game is enough to carry the okay gameplay. 60 minutes, 60 hours. Sorry, I've been yapping for a long time. Yeah, Game of the Year is the whole package. Do I think Kingdom Come should win Best Narrative? Yeah, I would say this would win Best Narrative because that would just be story. But overall, Game of the Year, I would pick this one. Thanks, Tanwi. So that being said, now that I've explained in detail Expedition 33 and Kingdom Come Deliverance, back to the topic of Omori gamers that lack opinion permanence. So remember how when I played through Clair Obscura, like, I did have some things to nitpick about it? I want to show you guys, I want to showcase exactly what was wrong with some people in the gaming community and why like I said, why I don't think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will get the attention it deserves and the praise it deserves for the writing is because a lot of people did not see it. They did not see that kind of intricate weaving of the story. So here, we have, let's call this person Kevin. Kevin says, under my clear obscure VOD, that I clearly did not understand the story. Someone says, she never cares about the story in RPGs, she didn't care about Nier Automata and the narrative at all, and that was also very good. She also kind of skipped the story until CP's, let's not abbreviate that. Which is the last one, I think streaming and narrative-driven games don't mesh together. And actually, you know what? This person, okay, actually, these two, I actually think are more okay. They're like justified because to be fair, when I played Nier and CP, that was before my frontal lobe developed. And I did say at the beginning of the stream, it's actually two games that I want to revisit. I do want to revisit it because I am interested in playing it again. Oh my god, Cyberpunk. I do want to replay Cyberpunk and replay Nier. But never cares about the story in RPGs is a little bit... I mean, also Nier Automata, wasn't that 3 years ago? This is also 3 years ago? Do you guys have like a more recent example? Anyways, and then I noticed that because I was on my phone, these people have made a similar comment over. She doesn't understand grief or even what the story's about. That's why her chat are all as immature as she is, since that's what she attracts to her. Referring to my understanding of Claire Obscure, by the way. Okay. Anyways. And also, in the Claire Obscure VOD, another person says, Kingdom Come 2 is written like a Marvel sitcom. No wonder you liked that game's writing more. Oops. Where'd that go? Critical played that game for like 3 hours on stream and never touched it again because the writing was so terrible. Oh ho, my noble laddie, I am sure Hans, Lord of Perkstein, literal Redditor talk. Truly telling of daph that she thinks that game is better written and less tropic when the entire theme is revenge bad and Zishka shouting to the task 24/7. Case in point of what I said about Kingdom Come 2's writing will be over people's heads because they thought writing in games refers to literal dialogue, like literally what they are saying. Case in point. Okay? Understand? No, okay, if you find where these comments are, do not piss in the popcorn. I needed these comments to illustrate my point of why a game just purely off writing alone, Kingdom Come still would not do better, even if it had really good gameplay. Do not piss in the popcorn. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about that. And then, actually, this person is the same as this person, is the same as this person. This person was the same as this person. It was like same two people. They were like, why are you so pessimistic while playing this whole game? And if you just came by here and you missed it, I talked about the gameplay and what I said was really, really good. And what I said, what I didn't like, and everything that I said that I didn't like was actually like very minor things that were completely excusable that I've actually also mentioned being very excusable. And then someone says, how does anyone enjoy this constant nitpicking through a walkthrough? She was insanely pessimistic while playing this game for some reason, really weird. And I'm gonna be honest, I praised this game so much playing through it. So much to the point that I went out of my way to watch the dev interview to compliment how much they knew what they were doing. But like I said, this is what we call Omori gamers, is they lack opinion permanence. If you miss my explanation of it ahead of time, it means you say something good, but then you say something bad. It doesn't matter how bad what you said was. Like, it could be the smallest little criticism. Everything that you said is good does not fucking matter because they lost it. It's not there. It's gone. They lack opinion permanence. So if you ever find yourself in a conversation with someone who I would call an Omori gamer about whatever game that is their Omori, Okay? The successful way to diffuse a conversation with someone like that is the ratio. Okay, I calculated this. The ratio is about a 10-to-1 positive to negative things to say. So if you say 10 positive things and 1 negative thing, they will be more receptive of what the negative thing is. Otherwise, they may crash out. That is what I call lacking opinion permanence. Yeah, they have to be babied. 5-to-2 is very dangerous. Do not do 5-to-2. I did 5-to-2 and apparently I was being extremely pessimistic and constant nitpicking. And yeah. That's my mistake. I have to understand. I have to respect the balance of 10-to-1. 1-to-10 to create the ultimate crash out. They might drone strike your house, dude. What's the time limit of the 10-to-1? The 10-to-1 has to be rapid fire. So while before they forget that you said the 10. So the 1 has to be like right after the 10 so they don't forget that you said that. And I remember literally making fun of that. I remember literally making fun of that after the Lies of P stream. Is like I made fun of it by going like, dude, I feel like for some of these fucking sensitive ass gamers, I have to talk like this. It was really good. It was really good. And I overall enjoyed it, but I do wish the camera work was better. The camera work was a little bit nauseating, but it was